Hey guys, so sorry this video came in the afternoon. Ceramics 2's video took a little bit longer than I anticipated, so I apologize for that. But today I'm going to go over how to do some wings and maybe like a tail area, or for some of you I know you're kind of doing more of like a fish alien monster, so I'll go over how to make the tail fin because I have that on mine as well. So wings and kind of like a tail area, and then after that basically the rest I'll do extensions too in regards to like horns, and then like if you had, I don't know, like my little guy had like an eyeball coming off the top, so I'll do stuff like that. But really after this video the rest is basically just shape out your attachment however you want it to be. I'll talk about thickness in this video, and you just continue repeating that attachment process over and over and over again. So wherever the two pieces of clay touch, just make sure that you're slipping, scoring the seam, adding a coil, and then smoothing it in really well. If you have like that divot that's going in, that's kind of showing that attachment point, then maybe add another small coil until you can't see that, but always make sure that you're compressing that clay really well so you don't create an air pocket. So if you're like, I got this, then you feel free to move forward on the rest of your attachments and your extensions. Because basically, like I told you before we left school, ceramics is one big attachment. So yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I got my clay here under my bag. Oh, I know what I was gonna tell you guys. So I got a couple emails about, I got mold on my project. So you might have like this little furry stuff happening. You see that? It's not gonna hurt you, okay? You can just wipe it off with your finger, or just take your sponge and kind of wipe that stuff off. You can use your paintbrush. But that happens sometimes when you leave a form under that plastic bag for a little bit. You know, that moisture just kind of builds up. But it's not a huge deal. It's not gonna hurt you. Just wipe it away. And there you go. So if you have that, don't freak out. That's pretty normal. So glad I remembered that. Anyway, so I'm gonna take just a little bit of clay and I'm gonna wedge this up in my hand. It's not very much, so I don't need to table wedge it. And then, you know, I think I'll start with the tail section. So if you're gonna do a tail, mine was kind of like this fish crab guy, kind of combined those two and then made them alienish, I guess, with adding all those eyeballs. So I'm going to add a little bit of a tail fin down here. So I'm going to take my clay and I'm going to make that tapered coil again. So that's not changing. So if you made your handle on your mug and you've made your legs and you've made your arms, then you should be really good at making a tapered coil at this point. Now I'm going to do it a little bit differently in regards to how I make my tapered coil, because I want to attach it here. I want it to bend up, but I also want to make sure I have enough clay for like the tail fin area. So it's gonna be tapered, but not like a dramatic taper, I guess. So I'm gonna put my camera down onto the canvas so you can kind of see what I'm gonna be doing. Sorry if this moves a lot on you, but do the best I can here. I have to switch out everything when I go from Ceramics 2 to Ceramics 1 and vice versa. So I'm using two different types of clay. Okay, hopefully you can see that. All right, so here's my little guy. That's where I ended last week or the week before. So I'm gonna make my tapered coil. And I know that I don't probably need this long, but I'm gonna leave it longer than I actually need it, because I can always cut it off at my attachment point, which is gonna be right here. Okay, so if you're doing a tail of any sort, you know, you can taper this a lot more to get the shape that you want. And then this is gonna be your attachment point, right? So I assume it's gonna go here. Maybe your guy's standing on its feet, and so it's going this way. But I think we kind of chatted about it, and I kind of advised you to have them sitting. So hopefully you did that. So maybe you're putting a tail here on the end. If you are, then you want to match the width of this. because that would look really weird if I just attached it like that, right? So if your alien creature is standing, then the thickness of your coil for a tail needs to match the thickness of the end of this. And if you're gonna do it that way, then you need to cut a hole here, and then we would need to hollow this out. And then you would attach it just like you would to pinch pots. So wherever it's touching, you're gonna slip and score, and then score the seam, add an additional coil. Now I'm not gonna actually do that because I'm not doing that to my alien creature. So I'm gonna tear this part off a little bit because I don't want it there narrow. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of flatten this out because that's what I want. Now, if you want yours to stay nice and round like this, this is way too thick, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my paintbrush, which I gave you guys, and you're just gonna put it on the inside, and you're just going to go in like a circular motion, support it with your hand here, go in a circular motion, like so. Because it was over an inch thick, and if we attach that to the base, it could possibly explode. So we don't want that to happen. So now what I'm gonna do to make my tail fin is I'm gonna press this part down a little bit, and I'm just gonna kind of start to shape it. Now again, if you're doing a tail, you'll stop once you get that tapered coil and you'll attach it. But I'm doing a fish fin here. So at this point, I'm just taking my clay and I'm just shaping it to how I want it to look. It might take me a couple times. Kind of rushed into this. And you could, sometimes kids say, well, can I just attach the fin separately? And you could. You can do that. So I would just continue to, you know, shape this to how I want it. But if I keep going, guys, it's gonna be a super long video. So I'm just gonna do kind of like the gist of it. And then I'm gonna move on to wings. And then after that, I'll go ahead and post this video. And then I'll do one of myself working in detail on my little alien creature. That way, if you want to turn that on and just kind of watch it as you're working, you can. But it will be slightly longer. So that's why I'm gonna go ahead and just move on to wings. I'm not gonna do this one all the way through, or my tail, because this is what I'm gonna put on mine. So I would continue shaping that up, you know, getting it to where I want it. And then again, you know, my attachment point, you can bend your clay. It's not gonna do anything. Just make sure you smooth, get it really nice and smooth, guys. Get all your edges kind of smoothed out. Use your sponge, use your paintbrush before you attach it. And then I know that this is gonna go like right here somewhere. So if I was gonna attach this right now, I'm going to cut this at an angle. So you guys can use your modeling tools. I'm cutting it right here at an angle like that. Okay, so now it will actually sit there nice and straight, okay? But this needs a lot of adjustment because that looks a little strange. I don't think I want it sticking out that far, so I would cut even more off of this. So that's sort of where I'm going with mine. Maybe, I don't know if I like that anymore. I might leave that off. But anyway, but that's a good example if you are doing a fishtail of some sort. Okay, so then wherever the clay's touching, you're gonna slip and score. And then because I have a hole here, don't forget to cut a hole here or wherever your attachment point, you know, if you're attaching it here, cut that hole before you attach it, okay? You also might wanna let this set up for a day. If you're gonna attach it somewhere up here somehow, right? That's probably gonna fall. So if it's gonna be down at the bottom, and it can support itself, which I think that this probably could, then it would be fine. You could also wedge like a little piece of clay under here to help hold it if you wanted to go ahead and attach it. Or you can let it set up for a day. Don't leave it out, but just make it and then put it under plastic and then attach tomorrow. So you could do that as well. So that's if you're doing any kind of tail or fin section. That's how you would do that. For those of you that are doing a wing, any kind of wings, if you have some scrap paper or scrap cardboard, probably want to grab that. Now, it's not a huge deal, but I know as beginners, a lot of you want your stuff to be really, I guess, balanced out. So a stencil is going to help you do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw maybe what I would want my wings to look like. I don't know, you can do your wings however you want. You could even print this off the internet and cut it out. You know, if you feel like, oh, I'm terrible at drawing. I guess mine are going to be more butterfly-y. They don't have to be. You know, you could just do like a single wing or fin. Some of you wanted some fins. This is how you could do a fin too. So you can make yourself a stencil. Okay, so this would be a fin. This would be a wing, right? I guess that's not gonna come out. It'll be backwards on the screen, but, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this out. So you can use paper, scrap cardboard, whatever. And you don't have to have a stencil, but I think it's a good idea if you want them to look pretty similar. Okay, so your wings might not look like mine. Again, you can do them however you want. They can be whatever shape. So like I could cut this in half and just use that for a wing, however you want it to look. So then you're gonna take a piece of your clay. Now normally, you know, if we were in school, I would just have you use a slab roller, but I assume that none of you have slab rollers at home. So we're gonna flatten this. If you have a rolling pin, you could use a rolling pin. You might want to ask your parents or grandparents, whoever it is you live with, if you can borrow their rolling pin. So if you have a rolling pin, you can use that to roll this out. If not, then I'm going to show you what to do. You can just take your clay after you've wedged it, and you're just going to kind of gently use your pinching skills. See, I told you that's what they would come in handy, but I'm going to use like my palm and my fingers, and I'm just kind of overlapping where I'm pressing this clay. I'm not pressing really hard, just like when you made pinch pots, because you want the clay to be even. And then once you have it kind of thinned out, then you can put it on your board and try to keep it, you know, as even as you can. I tend to go back and forth between the board and picking it up. But I'm just kind of pushing into my fingers on the back side here, overlapping. That way the clay stays even. Now, I don't know if I picked up well, you don't want this super thick, you guys, so, you know, a ½ inch or less. But you're doing wings, so you probably want them even thinner than that. But don't get them so thin that they're not going to be manageable. So I don't want you to break your project either. Okay. Ah! Getting close. Now I will tell you that wings, you will want to let them set up, because these will be, and you'll see in a second here. I've lost my rib tool. Here it is. So I'm going to take my rib and I'm going to smooth this out. Again, if you have a rolling pin, you use a rolling pin. But I don't want to show that because some of you might not have that. So now I'm just getting rid of my fingerprint marks. And I'm compressing my clay, kind of checking it for air pockets as well, all at the same time. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And then I'm going to use my sponge to smooth this out. I'm going to make my stencil smaller so I don't have to remake this piece of clay. You see, it's a little bit too big. Let's see. Okay, that'll work. If you make your slab piece big enough, then you can get both of your wings. But I don't think I made mine big enough. We'll try it. Okay, so then with your modeling tool, you're going to cut this out. Again, guys, your wings do not have to be this shape. You can do your wings however you want. I'm just showing you the process. So you don't have to have them look like butterfly wings. You can do more of like a bee wing, a bird wing, an eagle wing, whatever. Okay, so then if you had enough clay, you could go ahead and cut your other piece out at the same time. That way they're both drying. So now what I'm gonna do is I don't want to keep this edge this geometric. I want it to be kind of have a nice soft, you could even thin this out a little bit more if you wanted to. Just take your fingers and just kind of pinch along that section if you want them to look, you know, more realistic. Don't do this edge though where you're going to attach it because you need that thickness. But this over here you could definitely thin out because wings, you know, depending on what kind of wings you're doing, I guess. Now, if I was gonna put this on my project, I would make this pretty thin because I want it to look like a actual wing. But I'm gonna stop there, but if you wanna keep thinning that area, you can. Probably don't make it paper thin though, because it could break on you, especially while you're still building. So now I'm just gonna go through and I'm gonna smooth up these edges because I want them to be nice and round. And I'm just using the pillow top part of my finger. And you can do this you know, it can sit on your board. You don't have to hold it. And for these small areas right in here, you can use your paintbrush. But do all this smoothing before you attach this. And I'm gonna do the same thing to this side. Sometimes students will end up with a crack right here. So just score it and then add a little coil there and smooth it out. Okay, so you would go ahead and you would make a second wing, and then you're gonna want these to set up for the day. Don't attach them right away because they're so flimsy, right? So if I attach this to my guy, I don't know where you might be putting them, but if I go to attach this, what probably is gonna happen is this is gonna fall over like this, just because that clay is so wet. I mean, it might be all right, but I would prefer, my personal preference is to go ahead and make them, let them set up for the day and then reattach, and then attach them tomorrow. But the same process, guys. So wherever the clay is touching, so here's where your clay is going to be touching, and then wherever you're putting it on your form, go ahead and just put it on there. You would mark it, right, where you want it. You're going to slip, score, attach. Make sure you compress it on there really well. And then this is now the seam, right? So where the two pieces meet, that edge right there. So that's where you're gonna score that and you're gonna attach it, okay? Now, if you're gonna go ahead and put this on here right away after you've built it, if it, like maybe you're doing it on the side like this, and it starts to fall forward, you can, you know, get some paper towel, get some paper, get some extra clay, and you can kind of put it in front of it to hold it. You do have your foam that I gave you guys before you left, so you could even cut your foam up and you could attach it. So that's how you make wings and fins. And also remember that this was an example of a tail. You just wouldn't do this part. You would just do your tapered coil. Okay, so I hope that that helps some of you move forward And again, get them made, let them set up for, don't leave them out, still cover them. Just don't put any water on them when you cover them. And then the next day you can go ahead and attach them. Now, just from feeling my sculpture, this is probably happening to yours, you probably need to spray the sculpture that's in progress because you do not want that moving into the leather hard stage. If it does, then you will not be able to do your attachments. Now, some artist is going to watch this and going to say, you can do attachments at the leather hard stage, and you can, but as beginners, it's a little bit more difficult. So you really want your clay staying at the stiff clay stage, okay? So if it feels like it's moving into the leather hard stage, spray it with some water. You can even, oh, I just knocked a toenail off my guy. You can take a sponge, dip it in water, and then just squeeze it out over your form, okay? And then make sure it's covered. Again, with those extensions and attachments, if you're gonna build them today and wait till tomorrow to attach them, just don't spray them, but keep them covered or they'll get too dry overnight and then you'll have to remake them. So if you have any questions in regards to this specific video, just drop a line below or send me an email and I will address those. So next video will just be of me attaching my pieces, and I'll try to put it in a time lapse, but that didn't happen for ceramics too, but I'll do some research and figure out how to do that on my phone. So keep me up to date, guys. I'm here for you, and let's get it done. I'll talk to you in a little bit.